Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video game video. This time it is some rare and collectible Sega Saturn games. I have quite a few here. I mean, I don't have a very big Sega Saturn collection, just the way I don't have a very big Sega CD collection, but I have some pretty good ones. And after, I'm probably going to do a two-parter, this being the first part. In the second part, I might show a couple of screenshots of Sega Saturn games that I don't have, that are quite rare and collectible, that if you see out in the wild for a pretty good price, pick them up. Okay, let's start out here with this one of my favorites, the Albert Odyssey. Working designs. Now, if you've been watching my series of video game videos, my collectible PlayStation videos, what to look for when it comes to getting rare and collectible videos, all that stuff, you know about working designs, you know about Atlas. So I'm not really going to talk too much about working designs as much. But here you can see the beautiful cover of Albert Odyssey. It's a role-playing game, very sought out, a lot of fun. I played this again about a year ago, and I had so much fun playing this game. I remember when I first played it, I first purchased this game. This came out in 1997. I first purchased it in 2002. My Sega Saturn collecting had periods where I would get games and not get games. The first period was when I first got the Saturn in 1996, and I bought Sega Saturn stuff around 1996 and a little bit in 97, then I stopped. Then I came back to Sega Saturn collecting in 2002 and was able to get a decent amount of games that are pretty expensive today. They were kind of pricey back then too, and this was one of them. When I first got this, I paid $75 for it. And today, this, I think, averages like around $200. So if you're looking to get Albert Odyssey to add to your collection, it's about $175 to $220 a game. If you see it anything less than that, you got yourself a deal. If you see something way less than that, and it's something that you want to sell and flip, you know what money, you know how much it's worth. Here's a game. It's not as expensive as Albert Odyssey, but it's desirable. Okay. Astal. This was one of the very first games that I played for the Sega Saturn. I first was introduced to the Sega Saturn through my friend Chris. I would go over his house, and you know, I was in college and he was working. So every week or every 2 weeks he had the Sega Saturn and he would buy a new game. And this was one of the games that he bought one week, and it's a 2D, beautifully drawn adventure game. Not very long, but still a really cool game. Now, with Astal, oddly enough, it doesn't say Astal on the side. I've noticed that with a lot of copies, if not all the copies of Astal. So you might see this and be like, hey, what's that about? Is this like a reproduction? No. It's very common, if not across the board, with the Astal games. The Japanese version, which I don't have, which I'd like to add to my collection, is, I think it's a little cheaper, but not by much. This will probably run you about 50 to 60 bucks. And the Japanese version, which you can play, you don't need to read Japanese to play it. And if you have a Game Shark or any other sort of cartridge that will enable you to play Japanese games, just stick it in the back of the Saturn, you can play them. But I think the Japanese version goes for around 40 bucks. Here's a game that usually goes around $70 to $80. It is a shmup. And there's another game that my friend Chris had. One of my goals was when I started getting back into Sega Saturn collection, for nostalgic purposes, I wanted to get every game that my friend Chris had, because I remember I would go to his house, and he would, whenever he got a new game, he would be playing that game for a while. So I was sort of indoctrinated into that particular game, whether I liked it or not. And this was one of them. I usually don't like to pay that much for shmups. This was a game I picked up in 2002 when I first started getting back into the Saturn collecting hobby. I think I paid like 50 bucks for it back then. You know, I think I had a little bit of regret. I mean, it's a pretty good game. It's one of the best for Sega Saturn. One of the best, not the best. But I usually don't like to pay that much for shmups, the shoot 'em up games, because they're a bit too hectic, like racing games. They're just not my type of games. But this is a pretty good game. I have fond memories of seeing Chris play it. And I like playing it too, but I use a cheat device. This, like I said, will run you about maybe $70 or $80. Oh, and another little difference, like I pointed out with a stall, this, it has the name, as you see the name over here. But this one, and some Saturn games are like this. You see this? It's very weird. Yeah, it's like the inside that holds the game is much different than normal Saturn jewel cases. And you can see with this is the norm for early PlayStation 1 games and Sega Saturn games. You open it up, it's like this, like dark green or whatever. I'm colorblind, I have trouble telling. But you can see it's hard plastic. But with this one, and there's a couple others, it's black and it's really flimsy. It's like not hard plastic. So my point I'm trying to make is there is a difference. All the Darius Gaiden games come like that. If you see this and you're wondering, hey, is this a real copy or is this a manufacturer, a reproduced copy? No, it's the real thing. One of the best games to come out for the Sega Saturn, maybe the best game to come out for the Sega Saturn, is this. Dragon Force. What do we see there again? If you could see it. It says what? Working Designs. So now you know it's expensive. Dragon Force is a really good game. I'm not here going to be talking about the type of gameplay it is. It's just mainly to educate you on what this is. Again, Working Designs, they go all out. This game comes with stickers for an extra memory card. This game also comes with an insert that advertises other Working Designs games. So you got to make sure you have those in order for it to be officially complete. Although games that don't, I'm not going to tell you that because I got it in the plastic case to protect it. But games that don't come with the insert or don't come with the stickers, they don't go for significantly less. This game usually goes for about $180. Without the sticker, maybe about $150. So it's still a very pricey game. And like we're all Working Designs, it has a bunch of disc variants. I might put that up here to show you the disc variants. I may not know what they all are, but I'll show you a couple of them. Here we have, wait 1 second. Okay. Next game was only released in Japan. Okay, but it's a pretty pricey game, so you running into it in the wild probably is not very likely. Dracula X. This is the Sega Saturn port of Symphony of the Night. Again, you got to make sure it comes with the spine card when it comes to these Japanese games and all that stuff. The cover art for this game the booklet art is so much better than the Castlevania Symphony of the Night PlayStation US version, where it's just a castle. They've done such a wonderful job. Look at that. Is it just as good? Can you play it even though it's all in Japanese? Sure, you can play it. Yeah, it's not that difficult. It's not one of these games where you definitely need to read English to play. You could pretty much figure it out. From what I remember. I'm not certain if the weapons and the armor were in Japanese. I don't think so. But I don't know. I haven't played it in a while. But it's still playable is what I'm trying to say. You could still enjoy this game. Is it as good as the PlayStation release? It has an extra stage and an extra character, which is pretty cool, but I don't know if it's necessarily just as good. I think the PlayStation version is still a little bit better than this version, but that doesn't mean that this version is inferior. This is still a great version. Dracula X will probably run you about $100, I think, maybe a little more. Next game is Enemy Zero, another one of those full motion video type. It's not really full motion video. That is not the correct way to describe this. But it's basically you just interact with certain scenes, almost like a Myst. Do you ever remember Myst? It sort of plays a little bit like that. This is a spiritual sequel to this game right here. This game that I'm about to show you is not on this list because it's not that valuable, I don't think. D. Remember Darius Gaiden? Same sort of thing here. It's a good game, very similar to this. Actually, the PlayStation version, which I don't have, the PlayStation version of D is valuable because there were shortages of that. There's a whole story about it on YouTube. If you're interested, look it up. But anyway, this one's a spiritual sequel to D. Pretty cool game. It'll probably run you about $100. Now, this is my only PAL version game. I got a couple of Japanese games, as I showed you one with Dracula X, but this is Exhumed. Pretty cool cover, if I do say so myself. The United States version of this was called Powerslave. It doesn't have such a cool cover. Powerslave, now this copy right here, if you've managed to get the PAL version, which I have right here, the PAL version will probably run you about maybe 30 bucks. The United States version of Powerslave, which also came out for the PlayStation, but it's rarer on the Sega Saturn, will probably run you close to $200. Okay? I'll put a picture of Powerslave because it's much different than this cover. As you can see, the PAL versions, for those of you that live in the PAL regions like Europe, much different than the United States versions. I mean, there's part of me that likes this a lot better than the large jewel cases, and there's a part of me that doesn't, because as you can see with my copy, it's still in pretty good shape. It's starting to wear, and you know, you open it up, close it, open it up, close it. That happens. With this, you just have to worry. It's just the hinges you got to worry about. It still keeps the art and the manual. I mean, the manual will be fine here too, but it keeps it in good shape. Here, you got to be careful. That's the only reason why I don't like it. I don't mind this, you know. But other than that, I think it's pretty cool. I like the color scheme, the black and the what looks to be silver and all that. It's pretty cool. Much better than the boring white, I think. A few more for this video. Galactic Attack, another shmup. This was another game that my friend Chris had. This one's not as valuable as Darius Gaiden. I think this will run you about maybe 50 bucks, 40 bucks. Pretty cool game. There's nothing more to say about it. You know, it's. I mean, I got it. You know, I got it back in 2002. I think I paid like $15 for it, or $20, something like that. You know, it wasn't that expensive, and it's not that expensive today. So I bought it. I said, "What the hell? It's 15 bucks." Have I played it? Yes. Do I like it? Yeah, not bad. But is it something that I keep thinking about? No. And here's another game that my friend Chris had. Game that's really good. And I remember we were introduced to this game by one of Chris's friends that would come over the house uninvited. And he brought this game over one time. Guardian Heroes. This is available on the Xbox Live for download. It's both this version and I think a remix version. But this is the original copy. It's a great game made by Treasure, which is one of the more revered companies in video gamedom. I don't think it's, I don't know if Treasure's still around. I think they went, they're no longer in business. But anyway, it's like a brawler type game, a lot of fun. Then you could unlock characters, a lot of characters unlocked for one-on-one matches and arena matches and all that. You could choose different branches of paths to go down in the brawler, so there's always a reason to play this game again, to get more characters, to get a different story, a different ending, all that. Guardian Heroes is very beloved, and it's probably going to cost you about $150 to $175. Now this game right here is not worth that much, but I don't see it that much. And it's a pretty good game. It's, how do I describe it? It's like a simulator type game and a tower defense type game. Pretty cool. It has full motion videos in it that are not that good with Kirk Cameron, but they're charming and not that bad. It's called the Horde. Again, this will probably cost you maybe 40 bucks. Not a very expensive game, but I don't see it that much. I think it's kind of rare. Not super rare, but kind of rare. So it's definitely worth picking up if you want it for your collection. If you're trying to flip it, I mean, I guess it's only worth picking up if you get it for 5 or 10 bucks, which you may be lucky one day to get that. I don't think so, but you never know. And the very last game for this video, like I said, I'll make a part 2. There's only going to be one more part of it, and I'll show you some others that are in my collection. Another shmup made by the same people that did Metal Slug. Metal Slug's almost like a Contra game, a run and gun type game, like a Gunstar Heroes type game, like I said, a Contra game. This has that sort of graphics, but it's a shmup. It's called In the Hunt. Now this also came out for PlayStation, first PlayStation, and I think it's a little more valuable for the first PlayStation. I think this one will run you about maybe $75 to $100. Okay, so that's it for collecting rare and collectible Sega Saturn games. I hope you tune in for that video, as you did for this one. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching.